Welcome back, listeners, to Sandman Stories Presents, a folklore podcast where I read you to sleep or until the next story. I'm your host, Dustin. Today, for episode 268, we are back in the book of Philippine folklore written down by Mabel Cook Cole. This is the final set of stories for this book. The stories are mostly short, but Dog is a little bit longer. Still, I think you will have fun. These are all Itneg stories, and the Itneg people are one of the Austronesian people that landed in the Philippines long before the Spanish or Chinese or Americans came through. I hope you enjoy these and take some time to learn more about the Philippines, a place I truly hope to visit someday. Mahal kita, Pilipinas. Okay, let's begin. The Mistaken Gifts. When Saigon was about 18 years old, his parents began to look for a girl who would make a suitable wife. At last, when they had decided on a beautiful maiden who lived some distance from them, they sent a man to her parents to ask if they would like Saigon for a son-in-law. Now when the man arrived at the girl's house, the people were all sitting on the floor eating periwinkle, and as they sucked the meat out of the shell, they nodded their heads. The man, looking in at the door, saw them nod, and he thought that they were nodding him in. So he did not tell him his errand, but returned quickly to the boy's parents and told him that all the people at the girl's house were favorable to the union. Saigon's parents were very much pleased that the proposal had been so kindly received, and immediately prepared to go to the girl's house to arrange for the wedding. Finally, all was ready, and they started for her house, carrying with them as presents for her parents 2 carabao, 2 horses, 2 cows, 4 iron kettles, 16 jars of bazi, a sugarcane moonshine, 2 blankets, and 2 little pigs. The surprise of the girl's people knew no bounds when they saw all this coming to their house, for they had not even thought of Saigon marrying their daughter. The end. Okay, and story number 2, The Boy Who Became a Stone. One day, a little boy named Elonin set out in the yard making a bird snare, and as he worked, a little bird called to him, "Tick, tick, Dolen, come and catch me." "I am making a snare for you," said the boy, but the bird continued to call until the snare was finished. Then Elonin ran and threw the snare over the bird and caught it, and he put it in a jar in his house while he went out with the other boys to swim. While he was away, his grandmother grew hungry, so she ate the bird. And when Elenon returned and found that his bird was gone, he was so sad that he wished that he might go away and never come back. He went out into the forest and walked a long distance until finally he came to a big stone, and he said, "Stone, open your mouth and eat me." And the stone opened its mouth and swallowed the boy. When his grandmother missed the boy, she went out and looked everywhere, hoping to find him. Finally she passed near the stone, and it cried out, "Here he is!" Then the old woman tried to open the stone, but she could not. So she called the horses to come and help her. They came and kicked it, but it would not break. Then she called the carabao, and they hooked it, but it only broke their horns. Then she called the chickens, which pecked it, and thunder, which shook it, but nothing could open it, and she had to go home without the boy. The end. Okay, and story number 3, The Turtle and the Lizard. A turtle and a big lizard once went to the field of Gatkotapa to steal ginger. When they reached the place, the turtle said to the lizard, "We must be very still, or the man will hear us and come out." But as soon as the lizard tasted the ginger, he was so pleased that he said, "The ginger of Gatkotapa is very good." "Be still," said the turtle. But the lizard paid no attention to the warning, and called louder than ever, "The ginger of Gatkotapa is very good." Again and again he cried out, until finally the man heard him, and came out of the house to catch the robbers. The turtle could not run fast, so he laid very still, and the man did not see him. But the lizard ran, and the man chased him. When they were out of sight, the turtle went into the house and hid under the coconut shell upon which the man used to sit. The man ran after the lizard for a long distance, but he could not catch him. After a while he came back to the house and sat down on the shell. By and by the turtle called, "Cook!" The man jumped up and looked around. Unable to tell where the noise had come from, he sat down again. A second time the turtle called, and this time the man looked everywhere in the house, except under the shell, but he could not find the turtle. Again and again the turtle called, and finally the man, realizing that all his attempts were unsuccessful, grew so excited that he died. Then the turtle ran out of the house, and he had not gone far before he met the lizard again. They walked along together until they saw some honey in a tree, and the turtle said, "I will go first and get some of the honey." The lizard would not wait, but ran ahead, and when he seized the honey, the bees came out and stung him. So he ran back to the turtle for help. After a while they came to a bird snare, and the turtle said, "That is the silver wire that my grandfather wore about his neck." Then the lizard ran so fast to get it first, but he was caught in the snare and was held until the man came and killed him. Then the wise turtle went on alone. The end. Story number 4. The Man with the Coconuts. One day a man who had been out gathering coconuts loaded his horse cart up with the fruit. On the way home he met a boy who asked him how long it would take to reach his house. "If you go slowly," the boy said, looking at the load on the horse, "you will arrive very soon, but if you go fast it will take you all day." The man could not believe this strange speech, so he hurried his horse. But the coconuts fell off and he had to stop and pick them up. Then he hurried his horse all the more to make up for lost time, but the coconuts fell off again. Many times he did this, and it was night when he reached home. The end. Okay, and story number 5, The Carabao and the Shell. One very hot day, when a carabao went into the river to bathe, he met a shell, and they began talking together. "You are very slow," said the carabao to the shell. "Oh, no," replied the shell. "I can beat you in a race." "Then let us try and see," said the carabao. So they went out to the bank and started to run. After the carabao had gone a long distance, he stopped and yelled, "Shell!" And another shell lying by the river answered, "Here I am." Then the carabao, thinking that it was the same shell with which he was racing, ran on. By and by he stopped again and called out, "Shell!" Again another shell answered, "Here I am." The carabao was surprised that the shell could keep up with him, but he ran on, and every time he stopped to call, another shell answered him. But he was determined that the shell could not beat him, so he ran until he dropped dead. The end. Okay, and story number 6, The Alligator's Fruit. 2 women went to gather some wild fruit from a vine which belonged to the alligator. "You must be careful not to throw your rind with your teeth marks on it, or the alligator can see," said one of the women to the other, as they sat eating fruit. But the other one paid no attention and threw the rind showing the teeth marks into the river, where the alligator saw it. Thus he knew at once who had taken his fruit, and he was very angry. He went to the house of the woman and called to the people, "Bring out the woman that I may eat her, for she has eaten my fruit." "Very well," answered the people, "but sit down and wait a little while." Then they put the iron soil turner into the fire, and when it was red hot, they took it to the door and said to the alligator, "Here, eat this first." He opened his mouth, and they pushed the red-hot iron down his throat, and he died. The end. Alright, the last story, Doggy Dog. Doggy Dog has always been very lazy, and now that his father and mother were dead and he had no one to care for him, he lived very poorly. He had little to eat. His house was old and small and so poor that it did not even have a floor. Still, he would rather sit all day and idle away his time than to work and to have more things. One day, however, when the rainy season was near at hand, Doggy Dog began to think of how cold he would be when the storms came, and he felt so sorry for himself that he decided to make a floor in his house. Wrapping some rice in a banana leaf for his dinner, he took his long knife and went to the forest to cut some bamboo. He hung the bundle of rice in a tree until he needed it, but while he was working, a cat came by and ate it. When the hungry man came for his dinner, there was none left. Doggy Dog went back to his miserable little house, which looked forlorn even to him, now that he had decided to have a floor. The next day he went again to the forest, and hung his rice in a tree as he had done before. But again the cat came and ate it, so the man had to go home without any dinner. The third day he took the rice, but this time he fixed a trap in the tree, and when the cat came, it was caught. "Now I have you," cried the man when he found the cat, "and I shall kill you for stealing my rice." "Oh, do not kill me," pleaded the cat, "and I will be of some use to you." So Doggy Dog decided to spare the cat's life, and he took it home and tied it to the door to guard the house. Some time later, when he went to look at it, he was very much surprised to find that it had become a cock. "Now I can go to the cockfight at Magsingal," cried the man, and he was very happy, for he'd much rather do that than work. Thinking no more of getting the wood for his floor, he started out at once for Magsingal with the cock under his arm. As he was crossing the river, he met an alligator, which called out to him, "Where are you going, Doggy Dog?" "To the cockfight at Magsingal," replied the man, as he fondly stroked the rooster. "Wait, and I will go with you," said the alligator, and he drew himself out of the water. The two were walking along together, and soon entered a forest, where they met a deer, and it asked, "Where are you going, Doggy Dog?" "To the cockfight at Magsingal," said the man. "Wait, and I will go with you," said the deer, and he also joined them. By and by they met a mound of earth that had been raised by the ants, and they would have passed by it without noticing had it not inquired, "Where are you going, Doggy Dog?" "To the cockfight at Magsingal," said the man once more, and the mound of earth joined them. The company hurried on, and just as they were leaving the house, they passed a big tree in which was a monkey. "Where are you going, Doggy Dog?" shrieked the monkey, and without waiting for an answer, he scrambled down the tree and followed them. As the party walked together, they talked together, and the alligator said to Doggy Dog, "If any man wants to dive into the water, I can stay under longer than he." Then the deer, not to be outdone, said, "If any man wants to run, I can run faster." The mound of earth, anxious to show its strength, said, "If any man wants to wrestle, I can beat him." And the monkey said, "If any man wants to climb, I can go higher." They reached Magsingal in good time, and the people were ready for the fight to begin. When Doggy Dog put his rooster, which had been a cat, into the pit, it killed the other cock at once, for it used its claws like a cat. The people brought more roosters and wagered much money, but Doggy Dog's cock killed all others until there was not a single one left in Magsingal, and Doggy Dog won much money. Then they went outside of town and brought all the cocks they could find, but not one could win over that of Doggy Dog. When the cocks were all dead, the people wanted some other sport, so they brought a man who could stay under water for a long time, and Doggy Dog made him compete with the alligator. But after a while the man had to come up first. Then they brought a swift runner, and he raced with the deer, but the man was left far behind. Next they looked around until they found a very large man who was willing to contend with the mound of earth. But after a hard struggle, the man was thrown. Finally they brought a man who could climb higher than anyone else, but the monkey went far above him, and he had to give up. All these contents had brought much money to Doggy Dog, and now he had to buy 2 horses to carry his sacks of silver. As soon as he reached home, he thought about the house of the very rich man and went to live in it. And he was very happy, for he did not have to work any more. The end. Wow, those stories were fun. I liked Wise Turtle and Doggy Dog's Tale. I felt bad for the alligator, but it was just as well since he was trying to eat the woman for eating the fruit. Still, a lot of wonderful tales here, and I will soon have some more Filipino folk tales coming up. I really hope. And the podcast shout-out is to the Film Rage podcast. Jim, Bryce, and the Merman team up to see the newest movies, and for the price of a movie ticket, they will watch any movie you want them to. I'm thinking about taking them up on this for The Bride of the Reanimator, or an awful Korean movie called Witness, Mokyokcha. It's really bad. Still, I wouldn't know about half the movies that are out without this trio of cool dudes, and if you like their show as much as I do, go and give them a like, a listen, and a review. And the listener shout-out is to Dodoma in Tanzania, literally meaning it has sunk in Gogo, one of the local Bantu languages. It was only founded in 1907 by German railway engineers. You would think Dar es Salaam would be the capital, because it's the biggest and wealthiest city in the country, but Dodoma became the capital in 1996. They did not want a capital with planned roads and monuments like Washington, D.C. or Abuja. In 2006, China finished the parliament building in the city. Developments in the city have taken a long time, so many government offices are still in the de facto capital of Dar es Salaam. And I really do hope to visit Zanzibar someday. The planned capital city sounds a lot like Sejong City in Korea, where most people don't want to move, they want to stay in Seoul. And so to my listener in Dodoma, I say in Kiswahili, Asante na usiku mwema. Thank you, good night.